Welcome to the Blackburn End Podcast. Christmas is over, New Year is done, and we're all back to normal, as is Rovers by the looks of it. It hasn't been the most fruitful of periods, but it has been very, very eventful this year, so let's break it down. So Rovers fight back to earn a draw away at Leeds. Ohashi adds to the injury woes. It's another Derby Day disappointment as we fall 1-0 at home to those who shall not be mentioned. Rovers are now winless since the 14th of December, picking up only 2 points in 5 games, with both of those points actually only being won in the final moments of those games. And whilst we remain in impressive 7th position in the league, it is time for a break as Rovers begin their FA Cup journey away at Borough this week. Transfer windows are also open. The issues are obvious, but will they be addressed? It's time to break it all down. I'm with my mate, Mark. Mark, how's your emotions? How's your levels? How are we feeling?
I'm not over it. I've been like a big baby for the last 48 hours. I'll be honest, I do work with a couple of dingles. They haven't started rubbing it in just yet, but when they briefly mentioned it, I did deny all knowledge of football. I pretended that there was a winter break going on and thought they were on about the darts. And I'll talk about the darts all day long. Great. Darts was amazing. Luke Littler, tremendous. Should we just do a darts podcast today? I'm more than happy with that.
To be honest, mate, I'm so glad I don't live in the area after a game like that because, I mean, I had loads of people message me, but I can just ignore my phone. But what's it been like working and being around people? I mean, people in the comments as well, what's it been like? How have you had abuse? Have you been at work with people? Let us know. But Mark, what's it actually been like around the area?
Awful. Saturday, we decided to do our Christmas do for me and my friends who live sort of the neighbours. I didn't want to do it, just in case, but we decided to do it. They dragged me out. Out we went to a local town that is mixed. There was some very vocal, happy people. And I'll be honest, I've struggled to take it. I am not taking it well. I am a sore loser. So I'm not going to beat around the bush. I then had to try and clear the path because it's covered in snow around here. And all I could see going past my other path was a claret and blue bloody umbrella. Then one of the neighbours who's a dingle threw a snowball at me, laughing their head off. It's been rubbish, Mike. I'm not going to lie to you. It's been absolutely rubbish.
See, that's the beauty of us moving away when I was young is I can hide from things like that. I mean, obviously, I'll get a bit of abuse when we play the local teams around here, but, you know, it doesn't hurt me as much when we lose to the local teams around here as it does when, obviously, we lose to them down the road. And for me now, I can look as I can turn my phone off. I get a few messages off Villa fans, Blues fans just taking the piss, but it's not really that hurtful to me because I know it doesn't mean anything, but when you're surrounded by them fans, and they're all so smug as well, but they've spent so much money and everything, and we can all get into that, and they're saying, well, you bought the league and this, that and the other, and all these arguments are happening on X and social media and obviously face-to-face. But it was a tough one to take, that one, and we'll get into that. We need to talk in chronological order and actually begin with the Leeds game first. So let's quickly get into the Leeds one because I'll be honest, the Leeds game was quite forgettable except for those last moments, really. So it shouldn't take us too long. So let's just go on to the match reaction audio of Leeds and then we'll get on to the therapy session.
It's not pretty, but it's effective, isn't it? They can't figure out how to get past Eustace's teams. From where we were, it looked a very, very dubious penalty. Ref added as much time as he could to come back and show the strength of character to get a draw there. Some team unit, this. It really, really is.
Oh, mate, scenes on toast. What can I tell you? Just chuffed with that one. I didn't expect much today, to be honest. If I'm being really truthful, I felt like the first half, even though we did okay, we just didn't really look like we was going to do much, and that Leeds was just going to come at us. But to get that goal at the end and get a point out of Ellen Rose, I'm chuffed, and we're on to the next one.
Well, to be honest, when I listen back to my match reaction, it's obviously all built around the fact that we got that last-minute winner, equaliser, sorry, that made everything feel that little bit better. And like you said, it showed the character that the lads have to be able to come back into a game that I felt like it was a pretty drab affair at times. I felt like Leeds just didn't really, exactly like you said, they didn't really have answers to how to break us down, and it's been proven a few times now, which is great. I mean, their fans, they're so entitled with some of the comments they make, but I just love the fact that they were this angry that we got this equaliser. But I didn't feel like it was a penalty, and I felt like the draw was probably the right result. Was you happy when you came away that the game was, a draw? Because it did feel like it wasn't going anywhere.
I think you'd always take a draw at Leeds, wouldn't you? I think Leeds at home, it was an even game. I thought we came out of a shell. We had the better of the chances. This was a different game. This was a game where we went away to Leeds, third of 4 games in a very congested Christmas period where we couldn't really rotate. So we said, do you know what? Break us down if you can. And they couldn't. They moved the ball too slow, and they just didn't really have any answers for us. It was relatively straightforward. Then there was a 17 minutes added time altogether. That wasn't the out. I think there was 10 and a 5, but overall, I think they played a minute over, if not more, both times. I thought they were on the floor more than they were on the feet. It was never a penalty. He didn't touch him. He wasn't even going to give it until Nonto put his arm around him. And you're not allowed to do that. We've been punished for that earlier this season. It's a clear directive. And then he turned around and thought, oh, do you know what? I forgot I was at Ellen Road. Yeah, I better give it. It was a joke of a decision. Their fans didn't make a peep until that. So the fact that then we stuck it at them and managed to get the equaliser, it was fair enough. They were whinging again because they had loads of the ball. That doesn't mean that you deserve to win. You've got to create chances. And they were saying, it's anti-football and things like that. We did what we needed to do. I have no problem with it. If we did that all the time, I wouldn't want to watch it. But we did what we needed to do.
Yeah, and I felt exactly that. It was similar to all the other times. I say all the other times, the previous times we've played Leeds. Just let them have the ball, and they're not going to do much with it. And if these guys are top of the league, they should be batting us aside and moving on at home. I think it was just a tactical masterclass. Going back to the starting lineup. Obviously, there was a couple of changes, but generally we've stuck to the same formation. I think we played a little bit differently, like with the depth. But we lose Ohashi quite early on. Now, the injury was a bit earlier on in the half, and then it just turned out he couldn't continue, and my heart dropped because I just didn't want to go into the next game without him. I thought it was quite telling that Leonard came on for him, and I was quite happy with that. But how did you feel when Ohashi went down? Did you feel like he was being protected, or did you know that it was going to be something serious?
I think Ohashi gets a rough deal from opposition. I think they target him quite a lot. Whether they think, is he going to be up for the fight? Is he going to be able to handle the physicality? I'm not sure. But he gets, you look at the Middlesbrough game, you look at the Leeds game at home, and they're just off the top of my head. It seems to happen every game where they try and target him, and he gets some pretty robust challenges, to put it kindly. I thought it was a poor tackle. The referee didn't even really acknowledge it. Yeah, we were running past them, and the wind might catch them, and off they went on the floor, and he's all over it. But Ohashi doesn't come off. He gets some knocks and he gets back up. I think he plays the game a couple of times, and he might win a free kick. But then when he's going back down, you think this is not right. it was a concern because obviously, what was it, 2 or 3 days later, who we were playing. But then, the fact he brought Leonard on, it was interesting when he Eustace's comments after the game, where he said that we designed basically the game around keeping it tight, and Gay had a role to play late on, so he brought Leonard on. I was happy Leonard was the one to come on, but I thought he struggled. I think he looked very much short of match fitness, which he's going to be, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, going back to the Ohashi one, I felt at the time, and obviously it is a New Year's game, and you're with your family. I mean, you obviously went to the game, didn't you? But I'm with my family. I'm sat there and I'm watching. I'm thinking, are we protecting him? Are we just making sure he's ready for the next game? Are we just making sure when he's going to get the right treatment ready for the game after? And then obviously it comes out that actually it was a pretty serious injury. As for Leonard, I want to see him get as much game time as possible. I think it's very difficult to come on at the end of a half and then obviously carry on. And he's playing a very difficult side. So I think if you are going to be playing Leeds away, you need to be fully on it. And obviously he wasn't. But looking around the side, it seemed like it was just a sum of all parts kind of performance. Obviously, Danny Bart and Hyam were just monsters again at centre back, and I think Hayden Carter's going to worry when he's back that he's going to break. How's he going to break into that pairing? The one person I wanted to really bring up was Callum Britton, because I thought Callum Britton had another good game. Do you feel like he was finding some form in that game, ready for the game after?
I think he has all season. I think he plays such an important role in this team, in the way we set up. He's almost our main attacking outlet. I've not been sure between him and Rankin Costello sort of last season. I thought, I'm not sure which one gives you more. Rankin Costello used to give you more going forward. I think Callum Britton's really stepped it up this season. I think he's looking one of the best right backs I've seen in the Championship right now.
Yeah, I've ever since I saw him play live, because you don't, when you see a game live, it is completely different, isn't it? Because you get to focus on different things. And I was in the family stands with my lad, and he was playing right back, and just everything, his movement, his touch, you could just tell he was really going to develop, and he has. And hopefully this is his, in American football, they call it the coming out party, when, they really start to show their qualities. I mean, coming out party over here is a little bit different when you say it, but over there is their coming out party. But yeah, I thought he showed some really good qualities. And yes, we are trying to focus on this game rather than talking about the next game just yet. But I felt like after this, we were prepared. I felt like going after this, backs against the wall, coming back, getting a goal, then having all this injury time, seeing it out. I felt like that other than the Ohashi injury, we were really prepared now to play them. Did you have that similar kind of feeling, or was you still uneasy because of the Ohashi injury and obviously the other injuries we already had in the team?
I've been uneasy about all the injuries. I thought it was going to catch up with us in terms of the number of games, in terms of just the people who were missing. But the Leeds game gave me a bit more belief again, because I thought if you can go away to Leeds and with all those injuries and still do it, and we were pretty much without Ohashi for 60% of the game. I felt more confident after the Leeds game than I had done previously.
Yeah. I mean, I felt like it was a good time for us to have the form that we'd had over the previous few games, and the performances were okay, not exactly great. To come back, I thought it was a really good opportunity then to have a game where you can grind it out, you can fight against some really good opposition in difficult scenario, which Ellen Road away is, and actually get something out. And it showed a good character that we did that. And that's why when I came away from the game, I was like, after this poor run of form, after these injuries, I was starting to get worried about the Dingles game. But after that, I had like a little bit of an injection of hope that all right, we can do something, because we didn't have Cantwell on the pitch, and we didn't have Travis. Hashley had gone off, and we still managed to get something out of the game. And that's testament to the character, it's testament to the management. Eustace at the end was celebrating like it was a win, I think. But the only thing that I was a little bit uneasy about was Pears' footwork. He slipped a couple of times. There was a couple of things. But he reacted really well. He kept wanting the ball. And I said a couple of podcasts ago that I wanted to see Pears make a mistake and react from it. And there was someone in the comments, I can't remember who it was, that said, why would you want him to make a mistake? Because I wanted to see this kind of situation. And he slipped, straight back up, got rid, slipped, straight back up, got rid. The next one wanted the ball back. And yes, he knocked a couple long, but he still wanted the ball. And I don't know, I just felt like it was a moment for Pears where I felt like he's grown a little bit mentally, and he had that strength. You have to have an ounce of arrogance as a goalkeeper, and I think he showed some good character. So whilst I really want to come in and say, what's his footwork doing? Why is he slipping? Why has he not got the right boots on? Why? Because he had a go. I think it was it Bart? He put it onto his left foot, and it zoomed into him on the camera, and he's mouthing, put it onto my right, put it onto my right. I think he's just having a whinge like you do. Like, you're trying to justify the mistake you made. But to be fair to him, he still wanted the ball behind at the back. And I thought he did quite well. Did you see the same kind of reaction from him?
100%. I had exactly the same feeling in the ground. I was concerned because it looked like he was losing his footing for a spell all the time. He wasn't alone in that, but it was worrying. And the crowd were getting at him a bit, and I thought, ooh, this is your test now. And I thought he stood up to it manfully. I was really impressed with him. The pitch was slippy. It was slippy. There was 2 or 3 players falling over. But yeah, I was impressed with the way he handled that and the way he came through it. And that was a big test for me. Can be an intimidating atmosphere at Ellen Road. It wasn't most of the time, but actually when he did that, they did perk up for 5 minutes and had every time the ball went near him, they were getting at him. And that's the kind of thing we've seen Pears crumble previously in previous seasons. He didn't do it. So I'm starting to believe now that this is Ainsley Pears moving forward. That, the former version, he's grown now. It's not just a purple patch. This is him.
Yeah, and it's another tick in the positive column for him now. These things that we've seen this season that shows that he has grown, and he's of an age now where he's starting to mature as a goalkeeper, and he might find himself at a better level than what we thought. But looking at some of the reactions from the fans, like people saying Dominic Hyam, that was a colossal performance, deserved that point. Ref tried it, Bart wasn't having it. Good display today. Leeds fans coming in saying, you're not going up, lads. How are you, top half? I love the fact that they were rattled. Effort from the lads, they earned it. I don't know how they managed it. I don't know how they can manage another game in 3 days, but cracking effort. I just think that sometimes draws feel like wins, and this one just felt it was like that because we had some chances, but it didn't feel like it was going to go our way. The penalty goes against us, and you think, this is just a typical situation. But for us to get that point, it was really satisfying as well. I mean, I'm looking some of these comments from the Leeds team, Leeds fans. I can't mention on here, but I do ask that people go to the Rovers X full time tweet and read some of them because they are quite funny. But have we got any 3-word reviews that you're particularly impressed with?
So Gareth Moore's dogged, determined, deserved. James Robinson, Eustace owned Farke. So I think that's 4 times they've faced each other. Farke hasn't won one of them. We had Mike Beaty. I feel better. The only one and only juice, dirty Leeds bathed. I like it.
And was you happy with the performance?
Considering the injuries and where it was in the fixture list, I'm going to go yes.
Yeah. I think I'm realistic now, just as you are. You know, sometimes you've got to dig your heels in. You've got to get dirt under your fingernails and really grind it out. And this is a place you go to and you do that. So, yeah, I was happy with that. So now, Mark, the therapy session begins. We move on. Are you ready?
No.
I'm going to turn my page to my notes, which is very long compared to the Leeds one. So let's go into the match reaction audio to start with.
Oh, mate, when we started doing this podcast, we said that we'd have our football heads on all the time and that we'd try to be balanced, but it's really hard after a game like that. I felt like this was a great opportunity for us to put this side to bed once and for all and get something. Obviously, the injuries to Travis and Ohashi came at a terrible time for us when we've got a very small squad as it goes. But I think the game at the end just highlighted a lot of our issues. Physically, we struggled with pace. Every time we got the ball encountered, we had to cut back, whether that's a trust issue or whether we just physically can't handle it, I don't know. There's certain players that I'm really frustrated with, which I'll bring up in the pod. I don't really bring up now because, yeah, I'm quite angry about this one. But yeah, felt like a draw probably would have been the right result in the end. And definitely don't think we should have lost it, but they showed their quality and we showed our lack of. So we'll break it down in the pod, mate.
You might have to bleep this out, Mike. Firstly, I'll comment on them. If they think they're going up and staying up, they've got another thing coming. Jesus Christ, they've dropped some levels. Both teams, endeavour, but both lacking in the final third. I thought it was a poor game, really. Good God, we need a striker. Jesus Christ. Just need an option up top, don't we? But we're missing some key players as well. Would it have been a different game? Not sure. Referee seemed to have forgot his yellow cards for their players. And Connor Roberts, Fleming, and James Trafford could all do with a dose of... I'll not finish that sentence.
Well, there's a few points you made there. James Trafford, his demeanour just annoys me. He's just got such an arrogant demeanour. I can't stand the kid, but that's another thing. I said I felt like a draw would have been the fair result. A few people have said on X that I'm wrong on that, and this is Rovers fans. Do you think we deserved a draw?
I thought, if I'm going to summarise it very briefly, I thought there was two teams who, lots of endeavour, both lacking in quality. I thought there was nothing in the game. Nobody deserved to win it. I don't think we deserved to lose either. So, yeah, I thought a draw was a fair result. I mean, ultimately, you get what you deserve. And how much did they pay for Fleming in the transfer? 10 million? So, over 2 games against us, we had 10 men for a lot of that. We've had a load of injuries. They've got a bigger squad, all these kind of things put together. It's taken a 10 million striker to get one more goal than us. I don't know what they've done with the other 300 million that they seem to have spent because they seem to have gone backwards, but I don't really care about that. In terms of us, it's just one game too many. We did lack in a bit of quality though as well.
Yeah, another thing you said though that I really agree with was when you said about them dropping levels. And as soon as you said that, I actually, because obviously we send these voice notes to each other. So a little peek behind the curtain of how we do this. We actually send these to each other. So we do listen to them straight away. And then we tend to have a conversation, and then I edit it and you guys listen to it. But as soon as you said that, I was like, do you know what? That is 100% spot on. When we played them and they got their promotion, I remember being quite scared of them. And they had so much quality around and the way that they played. And this time I looked at them and they did look they did look pretty poor. And they've got some, like you say, high valued players. Do you think that the occasion got to them at times, maybe, or is this just they're just not as good as they were?
The latter. I mean, I did 2 previews, obviously. They were quite respectful as well. I don't mind doing the previews at all. With the Burnley fans, I think the ones that we do it with are really respectful. It's a bit of banter, but it's quite good natured. But both of them said the same thing. They said that they are not what they were. That Parker's style has something to do with that. They move the ball a bit too slow. But yeah, that they are. They're not conceding, but they're not really scoring or creating chances, and they don't have the threat that they once did. Now, not really bothered about them, but no, I remember going into the last game at Ewood, thinking, if we stop that one out wide, will we stop the other one out wide, or this one? It could be. I didn't really feel that threatened by them. But equally, I didn't think we would score unless we'd got something like the one against Leeds. Or a penalty, or I didn't think we would create much, and so it proved.
Well, the starting lineup came out. It was a relatively attacking formation, relatively attacking changes with Koji Dewberry starting, Todd Cantwell came in, and it was Matt Targay starting up top. Now, I found it quite interesting that he was starting up top, but didn't come on in the Leeds game. So obviously, he was being saved for this game. Was you quite happy with the starting lineup when it came out?
Yeah, I mean, he'd had 10 minutes at Leeds, hadn't he? And he made a big impact. I think that his work for that goal at Leeds was underrated. I think it was and he's got something like, I know it wasn't an assist, but he's got something like 6 assists now. They're not all flukes. But I think he did a good job at their place. I know they banged on about their centre halves and they've conceded 9 goals, so probably rightfully so. But I think he did a good job at their place. He managed to be a big physical presence. Obviously, knocked it down for Vyman, then got himself sent off. But I thought it was the right thing to do because I thought Leonard looked lost at Leeds at times. So I thought, do you know what? It's going to be a tight game. Keep Leonard for the last 10 minutes or something if you need in a goal. So yeah, I thought it was the right decision. I'd have preferred it to be Ohashi, but that we didn't have that luxury.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been great to have Travis, Ohashi, players like that available to us. I think when I saw the starting lineup, I was quite happy. Gay's one that there's a lot of people that are trying to defend him. A lot of people are trying to slate him. But ultimately, you do want someone who's big and physical in a game like this. And I felt like we started quite well. It was a full Ewood, near enough full Ewood. The atmosphere was really good. It was loud. I felt like Burnley started quite nervously with a couple of touches and a couple of passes going awry. And I felt like we were quite strong. Koji Dewberry was having a nice little run down the right-hand side, and we just kept getting corner after corner. Do you think the corners were something that we were working on?
I felt we'd settled the better of the two. I was getting more confident. I went into the game. The closer you get to kick off, the more you always think, oh, if we do this, we could win. We could do this. But the more I saw the way the game was unfolding, don't get me wrong, I didn't think we were carving them open, but I thought, actually, we've nothing to fear here. And I think we have worked on set pieces a lot recently, haven't we? It's brought some success as well, which is something we've not been used to previously. But yeah, I think absolutely. Why would you not when, Trafford's not the most dominating of goalkeepers. We know he goes down very easily. He's been bullied a little bit before. Absolutely. I think you try and use that a little bit. And I thought we did okay. But we didn't really, from the set pieces, look like scoring, which we did get a number of them, so it was a shame. But yeah, I thought our delivery could have been better as well from those, really.
Yeah, the first half I was quite happy. I felt like we was probably more in control of the game than them. Am I wrong in thinking that?
No, I think that's a fair assessment. Yeah, I thought there was very little in the game. but I thought we settled better.
Yeah, we definitely settled into that game. The one thing that was really irritating me was our counter attacks. Everything just seemed to peter out. Now, it wasn't always down to just lack of pace. Some of it was intelligence. It was the wrong ball being played. It was cutting back when there was no need. So I've got a bit of a cough today. And there was a time where I think Dolan was attacking and he looked up, realised it was Gay, and just turned back. And I just got frustrated, and I could tell in the crowd were getting a bit agitated.
Yeah, it was like that at Leeds a lot. There was points at Leeds where we were trying to get out, and there was very little options to get out, and the players were turning around. I kind of understood it a bit at Leeds because the way we were keeping in our shape, but I thought this would be more like the Leeds at home game. I think that's the way we tried to play it, but you're right. We had very little creativity going forward, didn't we? Very little.
Yeah, and I thought it was a trust thing because there was players kind of in the right position, but it's like we didn't want to play that player in. Dolan, I think, was... Dolan was one that did frustrate me in this game, I'm not going to lie to you. And there was a time where he just started randomly dancing on the ball. He had no one around him for 10 yards. And he was just doing these little passer steps with his feet, looking around, and then acting all aghast and passing it back. But Cantwell as well, he was attacking and sometimes made the wrong decisions. It was frustrating.
Yeah, I thought Dolan had a decent first half. I thought he was one of our brightest sparks in the first half, but I thought he tailed off, which is what happened against Leeds at home, where he drove us forward a bit. Thought Cozy Dewberry, I would have liked to have seen him have more success against Connor Roberts. I think Connor Roberts is, well, I'm not saying what I actually think of him, but I thought Connor Roberts you can get at. I don't think he liked to be turned. And we didn't really see enough of that. And then my concern as the game started to wear on was I kept looking at the bench and thinking, oh, there's not a lot to change this because, like you say, we were getting to 2/3 up the pitch. Where we've got to remember, I'm not going to give them credit, but they've conceded 9 goals for a reason. So there's obviously an element of this where they are set up very well and very difficult to break down, and they don't let you get into those final areas. But we were sort of getting 2/3 up the pitch, and that was about it. So you're looking at the bench, and that's where you want to see maybe Cozy or Dewberry, and you think, oh, bit of pace, bit of trickery. That could change this game. I'm looking at the bench thinking Hedges, for all his strengths, he's not coming on and beating 2 or 3 people. Vyman the same. Leonard, he might get a chance and score, but again, it's not going to be a team goal where he's getting you up the pitch. Dolan the same. You know, you would want a Dolan or a Cozy Dewberry at 60 minutes to change the game. And I kind of felt like we'd gone all out to get ahead. And then when it wasn't happening, I was looking at the bench thinking,
there's no plan B.
Goals. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's exactly how I felt. I mean, the half finishes, I was relatively happy. I'm thinking that, Cullen should have had yellow cards for days. Lauren kept pulling shirts. But I'm going to be honest, I was getting a bit worried about Beck pulling shirts. I mean, geez, he pulls a lot of shirts. And if we're being brutally honest, we probably should have given a penalty away. But I don't want to get into that because that's giving them too much credit. But it was getting to a point at half-time where I was thinking to myself, do you know what? This could be the biggest half-time talk that Eustace has as a Rovers manager right now, because he has the opportunity to be an absolute hero. And they came out and... as in Rovers, came out and we looked okay. We got the ball in the back of the net. But they get their goal. And that was it. I don't think we reacted too well. Not straight away anyway. And then we started to have a bit of a spell. But like you said, the bench didn't give us any options. And yeah, it just came to a point where that pace and strength and final third just proved too much. Did you feel like when the goal went in, Ewood was just then really flat and it felt like inevitable that was it?
Again, you looked at the bench and thought, what are we going to change this with? I felt really sorry for Eustace. He had no options. He did the best he could do. He set us up the best that we could. I don't feel like he went with the wrong plan. I don't think, maybe should he have kept Dolan or Causey Dewberry on the bench as a different option? Potentially. Maybe he could have started Hedges and then gone more attacking. But if he approached the game thinking that, you've got to remember, this is the fourth of 4 very close games. Causey Dewberry hadn't played that much football. Campbell had a rest, or albeit he'd been ill, but he'd had a rest against Leeds. Gay hadn't really played. So actually, he put the freshest legs on for the most period of time. So, yeah. What else could he do? I don't think there's any blame attached to this. People have had a pop at Campbell. People have had a pop at Dolan. They've had a pop at Gay. I don't think there was anybody I would have a pop at. I mean, Campbell, you've got to remember, was not well enough to even be on the bench against Leeds. And there has been a bug going around the squad. He's probably not going to be 100% fit, is he? And he's got himself ready and got himself back on the pitch 3 days later. So, Gay's trying. It's not a lack of effort. Dolan's trying too much sometimes. But again, it's not a lack of effort. Causey Dewberry's a young lad. I thought he did okay. I would have liked to see more from him, but it's not. Again, none of this is for a lack of effort and a lack of trying, a lack of will. It's not a lack of, I'm not looking at this going like the game where we played at their place 2 years ago, where you're looking at the managerial decisions and the in-game decisions, and you are furious, and the setup of it and the way we approach the game. I've come away just a bit deflated that we didn't have a bit more. I've come away thinking, if we'd have had those injuries, would we have got more out of the game? I think it's a chance missed in some ways, but not that we could have done anything about it, because we are where we are right now as a squad. What I think it is highlighted and puts an absolute exclamation mark is they need to go and strengthen, and it's very clear where they need to go and strengthen.
Yeah, will only gets you so far, doesn't it? Will and determination gets you so far. It's the quality that puts you over. And if you've got the character that we've got in the squads, because I've said that we don't have dickheads in our squads. Normally, you look at a squad and you think, oh, he's a bit of a knobhead, he's a bit of a knobhead. But everyone seems like they're pretty good guys, straight up, really like each other. Now, to add quality to that while having really good character as well, that's expensive, and that's money we haven't got. So, do you take a risk and you just buy someone that's got quality that no one else wants? It's a difficult thing. I just felt like coming away from it, it highlighted the pace, the lack of pace, lack of strength, lacking the final third. The decision making, the football intelligence, it just wasn't there in the end. When you're struggling with certain things like strength, like pace, you need to play intelligent football, and we didn't at times. Campbell played a ball through, I think, to Gay, and it was a real poor one on a counter attack. There was other notes I made where it seemed like every time we bombed forward, we'd just cut back, or it'd be the wrong ball played. And yes, it's easy for us in the stands, or it's easy for us on TV to see that ball that goes over. But yeah, it just seemed like the decision making from the players wasn't there. And I felt like their goal was kind of not necessarily against the run of play, but I did think it was harsh on Rovers. But I was kind of like, I didn't know where the goal was going to come from, exactly like you said. And I did feel like it was inevitable then.
Yeah, I felt really sorry for us. I thought that it was harsh. It was, there was some poor decision making on the ball, but it's the fourth game of a busy period, and they've all played a lot of football. There's been a bug going around the squad. You can say what you want, but this is not a deep squad. This is not a squad full of loads of different options. They've just gone away to Leeds and had to absolutely run for, 105, 110 minutes and go right to the end. it's a big ask. And I think mentally, when Burnley then score, and you know they've only conceded 9 goals, and you're struggling to create chances going into the game, and you're struggling in the game, it's got to drain you a little bit even further.
And ultimately, you're playing the top two in a congested period. I completely get it, and that's where I said that when we do this, we try and keep the football head, sensible. But it's really hard to not let emotion get into this one.
Of course it is, and don't forget we had Sunderland 3-4 games ago. Another team that's doing really well. We've had Hull sandwiched within that. Of course, it's really difficult.
We didn't have injuries. Do you think we're getting a different result?
Possibly. I'm not saying for certain.
So I think we are. I think we're winning that. I think we're winning that if we have Travis, Hashi, Pickering. If everyone's 100% fit, I think we're winning that.
I think if they're all fit, then maybe. If Pickering had been at left back, giving us the flexibility to have Beck on the left wing, we'd have had Ohashi up front. We would have had Travis would have played in midfield. Potentially Carter would have played, although I think the defence was absolutely fine. Cantwell, had he been fully fit, would that have made a difference? Yeah. It undoubtedly would have given us a better chance. And it would have given us the option off the bench. They're the key. That's the key bit for me. That we wouldn't have just gone, here's plan A. We're kind of weakening the side when we need to make changes ultimately. But it doesn't feel like it right now.
When they would come on, they weren't old heads or anything to necessarily calm things down as well. So I felt like we was getting dragged into the antics a little bit because Burnley could really start playing it up then because they had the lead. It was theirs to lose. Like I said, you've named some names there of the absolute knobheads that play for them. And we fell into it. I mean, Dolan, when he was tracking down, he just absolutely pelted into someone. And there was other times where we just kind of played in, we played into their hands a little bit. And that came down to just a little bit of, I think, frustration. It was frustration because they want, and I like it because it showed that they wanted it. They wanted to win this game. And I do like that. And, this is a few days, away after. So I can't think about it now why did they do it? And they did it because they really wanted this game. They wanted to win this game. They wanted to do it for us. So now I can look back and say, okay, I was getting frustrated at the time with them being a little bit petulant, a little bit being drawn into the games. But that just showed how much they wanted it.
I think if we'd have been on the pitch, we'd have done the same thing. And that's because it hurts you as it's happening.
If we'd been on the pitch, we would have lasted about 2 minutes and got sent off, I think.
Yeah. And I know who my first target would have been. And Owen Beck had a very similar person in mind. But, yeah, it's sure. Is it petulance? Yeah. But it is because they care and they were frustrated and they were disappointed. They really care about this club. And I just think I'm trying to look at the bigger picture. Don't get me wrong. I'm fuming. I'm like a spoilt brat. I'm chucking stuff around the house. I'm grumpy as can be. But if I try and take myself out of that a little bit, we're still 7th in the league. Our game in hand can take us in the playoffs. That's far better than we thought. And we need to go into this January window now, bringing game. It's quite clear to me we need a left-sided centre-half, potentially that can play a left-back. We need some pace and some trickery out wide. And we need a goal scorer. The problem is 90% of the Championship probably need that. I mean, Burnley have gone and spent 10 million on Fleming and they're still saying they need a striker.
He didn't look all that to me.
No.
But, yeah. Before we leave the game, what was going on with Eustace and Parker at the final whistle? Did anything come out of that? Because I was trying to do my best lip reading. So it seems Parker, quite agitated between them.
Parker clarified it after the game. Apparently what he's done is it's pretty standard courtesy that manager goes to manager, shakes their hand before anything else. Parker hasn't. He's turned around, shook his bench's hand, hugged a few, while Eustace is stood there waiting for him, looking like a lemon. And Eustace has just reminded him, have some dignity in victory. And Parker's said he genuinely apologised. It was just the emotion of the thing. It wasn't a disrespectful thing deliberately. So I think it was a bit of a storm in a teacup, but I quite liked it.
I was hoping it was going to kick off, to be honest. I would have. I was looking for a bit of old-fashioned argy-bargy there, but no.
Well, I don't think it'll last very long, would it, with Parker and Eustace?
No, to be fair, you're right. Yeah, we'll move on from this game. It's another one. It's another Rovers disappointment. We've got plenty to talk about. We're on the 45th minute, so we're gonna finish this one off with some fan views. I'd put on about being that was undeserved, but it shows we struggle with the physical aspects with no pace. And a couple of people disagreed with me, but then other people like Rover Seas said didn't think we deserved to lose. A draw would have been fair. However, we need more quality if we were to be serious this year. Disappointed but can't moan. Then someone's put didn't deserve anything from that game. The Burnley didn't play particularly well, but we offered very little. Would like to see us play a little more attacking football before we concede. I'm not sure I agree with that one because I don't think they offered any more than we did. I just think that they took their chance and we didn't take ours. I mean, I think Pears made one save, real save. I mean, Trafford obviously made a save, but it was already going wide. But yeah, I'll be honest. Burnley fans got into that post, so I don't really want to read any more on that one. We did quickly put out a 3-word review. It was hastily put out because, let's be honest, we didn't really want to put it out, but we thought we would. So, Mark, is there any favourites on that? Or did that get infiltrated?
Yeah, I think everything's got infiltrated a little bit. Just on yours, though, I think there wasn't much between the teams. Put it this way, we're talking about investment. If we went and spent, I don't know what they've gone and spent. And I know they've brought money in, whatever. I'm not getting into that argument. This is not genuinely not a pop. But they've got players of supposedly high value and players who spent, 10 million on Fleming, etc. If we went and spent 20 million this window, I would hope we would be getting in the playoffs. And maybe we're wrong. Maybe actually, Lewis Travis is a 20 million pound footballer. Maybe Ohashi is a 10 million pound footballer. Maybe we're wrong. But I don't know. So we needed some luck, need attrackers, need quality forwards. January's huge. We need investment. There's a very, very, very common theme.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll get on to that. I mean, the thing is when I looked at the date of this podcast, I intended on us talking about the transfer window, what we need, and so on. But it's hard for us to really break it down right now in complete depth. But it is really obvious what our needs are if we want to compete with these teams that we are surrounded by up there. Then it looks like we've got a manager that knows what he's doing. It looks like we've got a coaching staff that knows how to get the best out of players that they've got. So it would be great if we can actually give those managers a little bit more quality to work with, a little bit more depth to work with, so then they can make some different tactical decisions. But the obvious ones are exactly what's already been said. But we have got a game this week. It is finally another cup game after we got knocked out so early in the League Cup. We're now back in the FA Cup and we're playing Middlesbrough away. Do we need this? Do we need a break from the league, or is it nice to have a cup run? Do you think we're going to see rotation? What's your thoughts on this one?
I don't think cup games come at a bad time because I think we need to see Toth. We're in the middle of January nearly by the time this game kicked off. We need to see what else we've got out there. Eustace doesn't tend to rotate that much, is my only concern. But actually, I think Toth's got to come in. I think Vyman needs minutes. Maybe Gay does, or certainly Leonard does. Cozy Juby probably won't do him any harm to have some more minutes. Buckley, we need to see. Baker probably don't do him any harm to have minutes. I think some of my concern comes from the fact that can we rest Bat and can we rest Hyam? I don't think he will, but McFadden could probably do with some minutes. Maybe we have a look at Matty Litherland and give him a debut, but Eustace doesn't tend to do this. So I expect there to be 4 or 5 changes. I think Toth will get a start. I think Rankin Costello will come in at right back. I think Buckley will probably play. And I think somebody like Leonard will be up front. And maybe Vyman and Hedges will come in. But there won't be debuts galore, I wouldn't have thought.
No, I'm just gutted we're not playing like a League 2 or lower opposition that we can just, play some real youngsters against and, whatever happens, because we haven't got the depth to have a cup run. I want to see where this season can go in the EFL. League, I don't want to. I don't think we're going to be having the kind of cup run that we've had in the previous years. So it's, for me, it's just a break, and I want to see some rotation. I completely agree with you. I want to see Toth in goal. I want to see some of the young lads play. I can't see Sigurdsson getting any minutes. Obviously, Jake Garrett's been called back. Is there a chance that he's going to play, or is the chances are he's going to go back out on loan? Not too sure. So there's a few, and there is potential that we could sign someone on loan between now and then, and they get a game. We don't know. I just want to see rotation. We've been calling for it for a few weeks now. We've got some very tired players. They look very mentally weary at times, definitely physically weary. And I would quite happily, rotate all the B team players in, be it youth or slightly older, like your McFadgens. I'd give Eustace a run out if it meant, resting people. So, yeah, I'm quite happy to forego the FA Cup because I didn't expect us to be 7th in the league at Christmas time this year. And yes, we've been in better positions, but for us right now, we can really, solidify ourselves if we can just be sensible. And that's all I want, is us to be sensible. If we go there and we have a bit of rotation and we win, fantastic. If we have a bit of rotation and we lose, I'm not too bothered. Are you bothered about a cup run this year?
Not really. Other than the fact it can give you the chance to get people on the periphery up to speed. But if I'm being perfectly honest, if it was just up to me, I would have gone to 8 or 9 players, Danny Bart, Callum Britton, into the pairs that have worked their absolute knackers off so far this season and said, the weather forecast looks horrific next week, lads. Do you know where you lot need to be? Go and get on a beach and come back in a week. It's exactly what I would have been doing.
Yeah. It's going to be really interesting, this one.
We've got, obviously that game was Saturday. This game's Saturday. You then potentially, the problem is after that, we've got Wednesday Portsmouth at home, Saturday Oxford away, Tuesday Coventry at home, Saturday Bristol City away, Friday PNE at home. So it's a massive set of fixtures again now. And we haven't got the likes of Travis or Hashi, all those players that have been out Pickering. They're not coming back. Hayden Carter, they are not going to be back for any of them games. So we can't afford injuries. Can you imagine if we play Bart or Hyam and one of them gets injured? No,
I'd prefer to recall the loanees and just get them playing.
Well, yeah.
It's about being sensible. I'd love to say that we can recall some of the loanees and play them, and that we have a couple of loanees in that can play. We're not going to be signing anyone permanent between now and then because I think we would have heard about it by now. And I know that Rovers this summer seem to just pull them out of nowhere, but I can't see anyone signing this week, can you?
I know for a fact that they are working on people, but January is a very reactive window, not just for us. You won't see much movement, and then all of a sudden you'll see a flurry. People become available that you didn't think would. People are available, then they're not the next minute. Transfers are complex anyway. But they are working. They are wanting to sign players. And from what I'm hearing, they're wanting to sign players with intent. They're wanting to sign players that will go into our first team. I've yet to see that in a January transfer window. I've yet to see that really in a summer window. So I am at the stage where I need action, not words. But yeah, apparently so.
Well, it's a perfect segue into topics that we do need to talk about. One is the injuries over the Christmas period, and the other is the transfer window. We're not going to go into too much depth in the transfer window. We have had a few questions, actually. I'm just looking at them now, and it's what do we think of this player, that player? I'll be honest, I don't watch a hell of a lot of EFL outside of Rovers. I know who we've played and stuff. So if you're asking me about a very specific player, I can give you a very basic review. But with all the injuries that we've had, with the transfer window now being open, can you see us being active? Now, that could be loans. It can be permanent. It can be people coming back off loan. How active do you think we're going to be? What noises are you hearing up there?
I think we will sign 3 players for the first. I think we'll sort those positions out. And I would say that the order of priority will be striker, winger, defender. I'm not saying that's the order they'll come in, but I think it's very, very clear. And I actually think that you've got to remember the Championship's looking poor this year. And it is an opportunity. We might not have expected to be where we are, but it is an opportunity. It's no guarantee. It isn't a guarantee. But if you went and put, Eustace talks about somebody getting 8 to 10 goals, didn't he, from now to the end of the season? If you went and put that player in our team, for example, when Ryan Law went in at Preston, didn't he, that time, and Cameron Archer, obviously mates with Steven Gerrard, Cameron Archer was on the periphery at Villa, came in, got, 8 goals? And then they were in danger of relegation, and all of a sudden they were nowhere near. If we went and added 8 goals and somebody that scored with some regularity, because you can get some players, Michael Owen, for example, used to get 3 goals in a game, 2 goals in a game, and then none for 4 or 5. If you get somebody who's just ticking over, what a difference that would make. The problem is to get that guaranteed. You're talking like when we went to sign Jordan Rhodes.
The thing is I'm not expecting us to sign someone that makes chicken salad out of chicken shit. I want someone that just takes the chances I think they should be scoring as a professional footballer in a mid-table EFL side.
Yeah.
So if you've got the ball rolling across the 18-yard box and he has time to take a touch and hit the target, potentially score, that's what I want. At the moment, I'm seeing from some people on the team, and we've seen it on certain YouTube videos that came out, that they can't even do that. And that's when I get frustrated. I'm not asking for Jordan Rhodes 2.0. I'm not asking for the new Alan Shearer. I just want someone that does what they're paid to do. Hit the target. Don't look rubbish. And that's the frustration for me. Now, it is leading to the conversation about the likes of Matt Targay. We're still looking for the striker. So we go out, we get 2 strikers. We get Hashi, we get Gay. We've already got Leonard. So you've got 3 strikers vying for 1 striker position. We know that Dolan can play there, but he's not really classed as a striker. So you've got 3 players looking for 1. John Eustace obviously still saying about getting this striker. It just shows he does not trust Gay. He's not necessarily ready to trust Leonard. And he knows that maybe Ohashi can't do it on his own, or he doesn't trust Ohashi. So Mark Atherton, a long-time listener, has emailed in saying, as per usual, after another defeat, I see that Gay is rubbish. He's not up to the standard. Is he really that bad, or is it we don't play to his best? Feels maybe the scouting team didn't do enough homework on him. I actually think he's more suited to the 2 up front, and feels like more of a player that is a head down to a quicker striker to run onto it. Or if we play just 1 in the centre, and we need players that run beyond him. So he goes on to talk about his strengths and obviously, is it ruining his confidence? For me, with Gay, and we've said this time and again, so we won't go over our ground about, like you've said, they've got these attributes they want to hit, and they go down the list, and the next one is the one that they will sign, and it is a risk. Just eyeball test with Gay. Sometimes I look at him and he looks like he's won a competition to be a professional footballer for the day. Sometimes I look at him and I think he's got something about him, and for whatever wage he's on and however much he costs, he's a bargain basement Sam Gallagher, which I'm absolutely fine with. I think there is a place for that kind of player. The way I'm seeing Gay now, I feel like he's been signed to be a squad player, a plan B, maybe a plan C, and we just didn't get the other players we needed to surround him. So when you sign a player like that, you give him the number 9 shirt, he starts games, he looks quite energetic, he's got this massive smile on his face all the time. I just think we really all got excited. I know I did. And maybe I was looking, for the positives, and I wasn't really looking deep down. And I know a lot of people did. I just think that he was not bought to be the number 1 striker. I think he was quite simply bought to be a plan B, someone different to come on, and the intention was always to get someone else. I don't think we're necessarily signing someone to replace him. I think we're signing someone to be in the position that he was never supposed to be in. Is that the feeling you're getting, or have I got the wrong end of the stick there?
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think we've looked to add different profiles to our team for different situations, different plans that, Leeds away last 10 minutes, you need a different option. I think we've got somebody in Ohashi that can run all day, drops quite deep, but both of those rely on pace out wide to overlap them. Otherwise, they don't look that good. I think what we're missing now is what Harry Leonard might become at some stage, but we're missing an old head of somebody who, I've said before, there's only really Andy Vyman that if he goes through on goal, I expect a goal. With most of the others, I hope for a goal. I think we need to try and find somebody who might not be able to play every single week, but those players who've just got that knack, I saw Luton come to Ewood and they had Carlton Morris as their captain. Now, I'm not saying you could get Carlton Morris off Luton. I'm just using him as an example. He isn't a sexy footballer, but he's a captain. He's a real good egg. You could tell that. But he also knows what he's doing. He knows when to slow the game down, knows when to hold it up. But you fancy him to score a goal as well. If he's under pressure and there's a penalty, you fancy him to put it in the back of the net. I think we need somebody like that. Somebody like when you used to have Billy Sharp. I don't think we're going to go and sign Tom Cannon. Somebody massive money for that kind of thing, or somebody on loan who you're going to pay 2-3 million for on a loan fee, because let's face it, they might do it, they might not. I think we will be looking for what profile we haven't got, and that is an experienced championship footballer and somebody who will get you 8 to 10 goals from now to the end of the season. We'll put most
Have we got the money for that, though? Because, the players that we're talking about, your Jordan Rhodes, your Billy Sharps, all, McCormick, all these, what's the EFL version of Barclaysman? But, these ones that were always the legends of the league, and you were like, they're
never quite good enough when they make the step up. Yeah,
I think those kind of players nowadays, because the game's changed so much and finances have changed so much, I just think we'd be priced out of the market for someone like that.
Well, they would if you went for, because I think the classic person to use as the example for that now is Adam Armstrong. Adam Armstrong will get you 30 goals in the Championship every season and will get you 5 to 10 in the Premier League. But that's because of his age that we'd be priced out of Adam Armstrong. I think there's players out there that are just over that. People like David he's too old now, but David McGoldrick was around, wasn't he? Wasn't that much money. There will be people out there. There will be people at Ipswich not getting a game that they haven't made the step up. There will be people at those kind of clubs. Maybe somebody in League One. Do you take a gamble on somebody in League One? But we know that English players and English clubs put an English tax on. That's the problem.
See, I think the signings of Danny Bart, McFadden to an extent, I think that is opening the eyes to the owners that there is a place for experience to be signed, and the striker could be that, because we don't actually ask for the striker to have that much pace.
No.
They just need to be in the right area at the right time. So a Danny Graham style player that was coming to the end of their career, that actually you could say, do you know what? you're 31, 32 years old. You've still got it in you. I want you to be my striker. You go tell these wingers where you want the ball, and then you're effectively coaching the wingers as a striker. You're coaching the wingers to where the striker want to be, and then you can even coach the other strikers a little bit, and they can learn off you. And then before you know it, you've got a unit there that just feels like it's the wheels are turning a little bit better.
Perfect example. That's the kind of player I think we'll try and bring in. Yeah. I think if we're struggling to identify that person, I could see us gambling on somebody from League One. But I think that's a more expensive option, ironic. Maybe not wages wise. But if you start going and trying to pick, we know how much Peter would charge people, don't we? But if you wanted to go and pick up somebody who's been doing it at Blackpool or Bolton, they're going to want 2-3 million, aren't they?
Who was that Oxford midfielder that we was linked at when he was League One and they asked for a ridiculous amount?
Cameron Brannigan, yeah.
That's the one. So that was when obviously we bought Schmodix for
and Cameron Brannigan, I think his contract was running down as well, wasn't it? I just think that you're exactly right. Danny Graham type sort. The way that Danny Bart's doing, I think that this is a position that spending a bit more on wages with a short-term view is something that's worth doing. I think you've got Harry. I mean, how invaluable will it be to people like Hayden Carter to be playing alongside Cal McFadden and Danny Bart? They'll be learning loads. And actually the strikers will. Similarly, how much would it benefit Harry Leonard to have somebody like Danny Graham when we got him? These kind of things. Somebody like a Billy Sharp, that kind of person. I think Billy Sharp's too old now. I'm just using him as that example. That somebody who's got that know-how. They're out there. They are out there.
I'll fire up Football Manager later, and I'll do a little filter search and see who's available.
When Rudy came to the last forum, what he said was, this window will be taking, it's not the time to gamble. If you bring in somebody in January, they need to be EFL ready and ready to go. In the summer, you can kind of bring people in like an Ohashi, where it might work, it might not yet, but you might be able to need time to bed in. If you bring in somebody in January, they need to make an impact. So he was saying that they'll focus more on the UK market, and also on, if they were going to go into the European market, it will be a league that's comparable. So a German league, for example, that you think, do you know what? Probably that sort of player can translate that across. I think the striker area, though, in particular, will be the area they focus on. Maybe even the defender. I think those two. I think the winger you can get away a bit more because we're talking about pace, trickery. That could be somebody from a European league a bit more. But yeah, I think particularly the striker
does actually ask another question regarding this, saying, do you think the big injuries to Travan Pickering changes our transfer deals?
Yeah, because I think the Wharton one does a little bit as well, and the Carter one. But I think we need to bring somebody in who can play, who's definitely a left-sided centre-half now, or left-back, can play both of those roles. Whereas previously, I just think we needed more depth in defence. But yeah, absolutely. In terms of Travis, I think you'd struggle to find somebody who can replace Travis. And he is back. He's one of the earliest to be back, isn't he? End of January. We've got the Middlesbrough game. I wouldn't say no to us doing that, by the way, but I think Baker is that person. I personally, I don't think he's comparable to Travis, but I think he is that person that we brought in for that role. He's not up to Lewis Travis's standards right now in that role, but that's not a surprise actually when Travis has been one of our best performers. Yeah.
Well, Steve's asked a question saying, would you take Ryan Krent on a free, Poku on a pre-contract for next season, and buy Bindon? I'm seeing a lot of names being thrown around at the moment. Are these the kind of names that you would be excited about being linked?
I mean, Ryan Kent's been on a free for a little while now, so that would be strange to bring him in January because he's not going to be fit. If we were going to bring him in, you'd have brought him in before now, I would have thought. Poku, you can't sign on a pre-contract until later in the season, when you can do if they're abroad. You can't do it in the same country. Yep. Bindon, by all accounts, is an absolutely world-beating centre-half. But is he going to come straight into our first team? Is he even left-footed? Is he going to displace Barton Hyam right now? If reportedly they're talking about 3 million, I don't know what budget we've got, but you would imagine that'd be a significant portion of it. Do we need to sign that on a young centre-half? I'm not saying I wouldn't take him as extra, of course, if he's going to be really highly rated. Yeah, we'd love to. But I think our priority areas have to become where we spend the money first. If we've got money left over and he's available, crack on. But I think we need the priority areas sorting first. And I'm, I think he'd take too much out of the budget right now.
Yeah, and I like the fact that we've been buying younger players and we buy to create an asset that obviously we can then sell on and it funds the club. I do get that. But I am starting to think more along the lines of experience this time. It's something that you brought up a few podcasts ago when you did your stats in regards to average age and so on of people promoted. And we've always had a really young squad, and you can't just have a young squad. And we're proving time and again with the likes of Danny Bart that experience does matter. Travis, he's quite an experienced player, even though he's not exactly old. He's an experienced player, and he's come in and he's come back into the squad, and he's proved how he was missed. Tronstad being another. So I'm concerned about the one thing I'm really, really concerned about with Rovers is our form is just so up and down. We'll have these spells where we'll just win everything, and the next spell where we just seem to lose everything, and then it's very, very up and down, and the waves are very high, very low, and I just want it to steady a little bit, and I think that does come down to depth, and it comes down to experience, and it comes down to having people around the dressing room that'll say, "Yeah, boys, we lost that one, but we'll make it better next week," rather than everyone going into the dressing room and kind of being a little bit closed and maybe just thinking, "Oh, well, in a couple of days' time, we've got to get ready for this game and then another game," and then before you know it, you kind of created a culture of a loser mentality. And I think that the concern of the rising and falling form, I think if we did have more experienced players, I think that would really help that situation. It's been proved with some of the results that we've had. I mean, to get 2 last-minute winners in games, equalisers in games, that hasn't happened that often with Rovers the last few years. It's always been inevitable that once you go a goal, maybe 2 down, that's it. We're done. But we've got a sense of determination in this squad. I want to build on that. And to build on that, I think it is experience. Yes, I want a striker, and I would love it if there was this young, exciting striker with great character that we're buying for nothing and selling for millions. That's not realistic. That life isn't Football Manager. It's not playing FIFA on easy, where you go for yourself £50 million at the start of your career, and you can just sign whoever you want. We have to be realistic. And if we could get some players through the door that fit the bill from a character point of view with a bit of experience, I think that'd be great. And then we maybe look at a loan for getting some pace and strength. But yeah, that's my thoughts anyway.
I mean, everything we are saying when we've talked to club at forums, things like that, they're saying the same. So it's not that they're seeing something completely different. It's not that they're thinking, you know what, the squad's all right. And it won't be for a lack of trying. Might be for a lack of funds. But, we have brought 30 million in and we've only spent, educated guess, 5 million. So there's room in FFP, and this is an opportunity that they might not get again. So, yeah.
Well, Ollie's asked us quite a fun question to end. We kind of sneaked into the mailbag there, but to leave the mailbag, it was quite a fun question. Ollie's asked, if you could sign one former player in their prime that plays for us in the Championship that would fit in and with what we need right now, who have you got? For me, it would be Matt Jansen. How great would Matt Jansen be?
Do you know who I'd sign? Duff.
So I thought Duff. I thought Dunn. obviously Janssen, and then I just realised I was thinking around the early 2000s when we had that just really experienced but youthful squad. So it's like every player was either really young or really old.
Yeah.
So I think he's hit the nail on the head with Janssen, though, hasn't he?
I
You
wouldn't
with
say
Duff.
no.
I think those are the two.
Yeah. Although in more recent times, I think you've hit the nail on the head with Danny Graham.
I think realistically, I'd say if you was to say who could you realistically get right now, it would be a Janssen wouldn't come to us right now if there was a Janssen available, but a Danny Graham would. Jordan Rhodes, he was a poacher.
Rudiger
But
said
people
won't
put
be
their
bad.
comments. Yeah, exactly. But people put comments down below who you think. I mean, we've done these best 11s of the Championship before, and we've had plenty of players that have been great. But I think Janssen and Duff are going to be the two world beaters that we had. That they obviously. I mean, we know about Janssen, but Duff, fantastic talent. But Mark, as far as I'm concerned, it's a therapy session that we've had. Do you feel a little bit better now, or do you still feel miserable?
I'm still thoroughly miserable today. It's going to take a while. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Normally,
No,
Mike, you know I love you, and I would normally be really looking forward to Monday nights. I'll be honest. If you'd have said, let's not do this, I'd have happily took all the abuse under the sun, saying, where are they? They're in hiding. I wanted to be. I am bitter. It is sour grapes. I don't care. I am a sore loser. And I don't mind that because I want to win.
Mate, every time. So when the Dingles game finished, I was recording to you, and I recorded about 5 and cancelled them because I was just miserable. I was just like, mate, why have we bothered? Why are we doing this? Shall we just fold the channel? I'm done, because I was so miserable. But then I thought to myself, do you know what? I need to chat about it. I need to talk to someone, because I think sometimes you need to kind of put things straight in your head, and you start to realise, well, do you know what? We're having a good season. Yes, I would love to have knocked them away and got the 3 points, but I'm willing to move on now. But it's now up to the owners to make us feel better. And I can only feel better now if the owners come out and they start showing what they mean when they say they want to back. I mean, there's a few rumours come out today about someone who apparently wanted to buy the club, and the Venky's asked for too much money, and there was a player that wanted to lead the consortium and stuff like that. But whatever's happening, for me now to feel better and to move on, I just need them to put their hands in their pockets and say, do you know what? We have a good opportunity here to have a run at this, and this is what we're going to do. And we've got a manager that the fans trust and the owners seem to trust. We've got a good coaching staff, like we said, that seem to be doing really well. We've got some real good characters around the team. We just need to plug some holes. And if we can do that, we can have a good season. So I just want to see the owners now back us, and that will make me feel a lot better about what's happened over the last week.
Every time we've asked about the club being sold, the answer has been consistent, that people have approached, the owners do not want to even enter into a discussion about it. So whether they've come up with figures, I don't think so. I don't think they take the calls. That's what we get told. But absolutely, I think we're in a good position. I am catastrophizing a bit in my own head. I am thinking if we don't back Eustace here at the end of the season, I wouldn't blame him if he disappeared. And then who do you get? And then you're starting again. And I think we are at that point a little bit. I think this is a really good opportunity. I mean, I know we always look at the Championship and say, how many times do we hear people go, oh, it'll be better next year, these 3 that are coming down? Everyone said it again this year. And it's not. It's still a poor league. But when you're 7th in the league over halfway through the season and you've got a game in hand against a team in the relegation zone, like Portsmouth is still in the relegation zone, is your game in hand, and that will take you back in the playoffs. I think you need to, I'm not saying go boom or bust, but I think you'd be a fool if you don't try and capitalise on that. Because it's been done before. You know, have I said that I think we'll get promoted? Absolutely not. But it's been done before.
Stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened to us. And
just
why not us? I mean, look at Nottingham Forest, man. I mean, look where they are. And it didn't seem too long ago that they looked like they were dropping into League One. You know, these things can happen.
I mean, Nottingham Forest are an example of how you can cheat the rules. Allegedly, I believe they brought Premier League rules, and that's keeping them where they are. But I'm not saying we do that. But what I would say is, just to finish on sort of this week's theme and the fact that we played that lot down the road, wouldn't it be nice to get the ultimate revenge in the playoffs?
We're going to leave it there. Should we leave it there?
Well,
Mark, I've enjoyed the therapy session. As much as it was painful to go through things, I needed to talk about it. Hopefully next week we are talking about signings and positive things. We've only got one game to review next week, so we can talk a little bit more about the transfer window. Hopefully there's some more information coming out. People, put your comments down below what you thought about the games, what we've spoken about, who do you want us to sign. And hopefully next week it's a lot more positive. But Mark, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for keeping me going.
And thank you everyone for listening. Have a good week and we'll see you next time.